Hello everyone and welcome to my review of Collateral that was released in 2004, directed by Michael Mann. So just to give you guys a quick summary of the plot, so Collateral is an action thriller and it follows Max, who's played by Jamie Foxx, and Vincent, who's played by Tom Cruise, and it's set in the city of LA. So one night Max goes about his business as he normally would as a cabbie. One night he picks up Vincent and before you know it, Max is taken hostage by Tom Cruise's character, and that's pretty much the basis of the movie as Max, well Vincent in this case, has to fulfill a contract of killing several targets before he leaves the city of LA. So just to give you guys a heads up, this is a spoiler warning for Collateral, so if you're one of the few people that haven't seen Collateral, save this video, set some time aside to watch the movie, and then yeah, once you've seen the movie, come back to my review. So one of my favourite aspects of Collateral is the characters and acting involved. So the most fascinating aspect of the movie for me is how Max and Vincent are counterparts in terms of their ideologies. So if you look at Max's character at the beginning of the movie, he goes about his business in a very unassuming way, and we find out quickly that he has a dream, island limos as he puts it, where he wants to set up his own island limo company. And we quickly realise that it's kind of a fad in the sense where he's had this pipe dream for so long, and then you quickly realise that it's built up to nothing. He's had this dream for so long, and despite sort of the plans that he's put in place, it's nothing more than a washed up dream when you quickly encounter Vincent's character. And that's one of the most fascinating aspects of Collateral, where once Vincent comes into Max's life, once he enters that cab, Max's life is forever changed in sort of multiple ways. And the dichotomy between Max and Vincent is for me one of the most interesting and complex aspects of Collateral. It just ensures that the clash of conflicts and the clash of ideologies, it plays out in such a unique and concise way, thanks to some fantastic direction from Michael Mann and his great script as well from Stuart Beattie. And one of the most fascinating aspects is the conversations that takes place in the various cab scenes between Vincent and Max. Max explains that he has this dream of setting up his own limo company, and then you see with Vincent's character, he's confident, he's cool under pressure. He's very much the complete opposite of Max's character, so in many ways they learn a lot about each other through these small intimate conversations that take place in these cabs. And that's why I think Collateral works so well. It's not because of the fantastic action set pieces, which I'll come to in much more detail later on in the review. As the film progresses though, we quickly find out more about Max and Vince's character, and we find out more about their past in terms of their backstories, and that's revealed through the intimate conversations that they have in the cab scenes. A great example of that is during the Night Fever club scene, shortly after they leave the scene, after it's a massive shootout and pretty much a bloody mess as the scene is put together. Once Vincent and Max are in the cab, we find out that Max is very, lackadaisical in the way that he carries out his life, and Vincent tells him that you've not fulfilled your life dream because you have no conviction. Basically he's telling Max, you're not like me, you're not confident, you don't have the willpower to see through your goals and dreams. And that scene, amongst a plethora of scenes, is the reason why the film works so well. It's because of the relationship between Max and Vincent, but in terms of those intimate small conversations, because we understand their guiding philosophies and we understand where they're coming from, it makes the film that much more interesting and that much more relatable to the audience. So another aspect of the film that I love is the direction of the movie. So Collateral was directed by Michael Mann, and one of my favourite aspects of the direction of the movie is how Michael Mann captures the soul and the essence of LA. So just to give you guys a personal story of mine, so I went to LA 4 years ago with my brother, and I can tell you folks right now that what I saw in LA 4 years ago is nothing like you see in Collateral, and the movie captures a fairy tale like essence of the city that I wish LA had when I went there all those years back. So another aspect of the direction that I love, and it kind of ties back into the storytelling as well, is how the movie, in terms of its pace, is very brisk. Scenes move along at a very nice pace in the sense where we never lose track of the characters, and there's a lot of character development involved in the various cab scenes, so that when the big action scenes do happen, we care that much more for Max, we care that much more for Vincent in terms of what's going on. And that's why I think the film works so well, is because of that economic storytelling and concise and clear direction for Michael Mann. So one of my complaints of Collateral, and it's kind of like a nitpick, but a sort of minor complaint at best, is the side plot involving Ray Fanning, played by Mark Ruffalo, and Richard Widener, played by Peter Berg. The whole side plot with the LAPD, every time it comes on TV, I always find that I'm pressing the fast forward button, just because I find myself pretty bored, and I have no emotional investment in that aspect of the story at all. In terms of that final act of the movie, I think if the LAPD had a major say in terms of stopping Vincent, and I understand why they weren't in that final act, because obviously it's Max's story first and foremost, because we see him at the beginning of the movie, but at least if they had some connection to helping Max aid his quest to kill Vincent, then I think it would have had much more of an emotional impact. So a final aspect of the direction that I love is the use of tension that Michael Mann incorporates in the film. One of my favourite scenes in the movie is when Vincent takes Max to the jazz bar. So in this scene, Daniel Baker's the jazz bar owner, who's played by Barry Shabaka Henley. Once he finishes his jazz set, Vincent and Max then treat him for a drink, and they have like a small intimate conversation afterwards. And in this conversation, the sense of uneasiness in the viewer, including myself, was absolutely palpable once Vincent reveals to Daniel that he alludes to his criminal past, Daniel's past. At that point, the sense of dread in the viewer is just, it takes over you and sort of immerses you in that experience. And the way Michael Mann frames the tension in terms of the use of various cuts and the use of shots that play throughout the scene, it adds to the intimacy and the sense of dread that the viewer faces. So that's a great example of tension that runs in the movie, and it runs, of course, pretty much from beginning to end in terms of how it plays within Collateral. So moving on to the final aspect of my review is the action that takes place in Collateral. The way I'm going to approach it in this aspect of the review will be looking at just the big centerpiece action piece, which is the Fever nightclub scene that takes place in the third act of the movie. The nightclub scene is a great example of how Michael Mann and the cinematographer create a sense of movement and tension, where the camera is always in a constant state of motion as we follow Vincent and Max trying to get their next target in question. The way Michael Mann and the cinematographer achieve that constant state of motion and tension is how they throw in various elements in the nightclub scene as Vincent and Max go towards their next target. This action set piece is a great example of Michael Mann building the various pieces and moving them into place at just the right moments, so that when the carnage and the chaos does take place, it's that much more satisfying and the payoff is that much more greater for the audience. Once a shootout begins, Michael Mann frames the action in a very coherent and very well put together manner. He achieves this through restrained wide shots, a very locked down approach in terms of the way that the action is put together, and in this scene by using minimal shaky cam, it just ensures that you're still creating that sense of chaos and absolute carnage that's taking place on screen, and you're not necessarily overpowering what we already see on screen, because we've got this massive shootout taking place, that you don't necessarily need to indulge the audience with an overindulgent use of shaky cam. And this is a great example of a well coherent and well put together scene that, in my opinion, is one of my favourite action scenes, not only in this movie but of all time as well. Another aspect of the nightclub scene that I love is the tension that runs from beginning to end. A couple of examples being when a cop is shot in the leg and some of the bodyguards are trying to stop Vincent from grabbing his gun. It just means that there's never a sense that the characters in question are going to come out alive, and when you've got that sense of tension running throughout the scene, it just makes the viewer, it questions what's going to happen next. And when you've got that sense, that particular sensibility running in an action set piece, it just makes action that much more exciting and that much more entertaining for the audience that are watching the film. So, just to wrap up this review in terms of my overall thoughts of Collateral, so with a fantastic and one of Tom Cruise's best career performances as Vincent, a fantastic turn from Jamie Foxx, Michael Mann's mastery behind the camera in terms of the direction of the movie, some of the best action set pieces you're likely to see in the modern era, particularly the nightclub scene, which is one of my favourite action set pieces of all time, despite a few nitpicks and my sort of only minor complaint of the film being the redundant side plot involving the LAPD. Overall, I'm going to give Collateral a solid 9 out of 10. So I now hand it over to you guys to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed Collateral, and if you didn't, what's your favourite Michael Mann movie, and where do you think this ranks in terms of his vast filmography of films? So interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So if you enjoyed this review, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and be sure to hit the notification bell for updates on the latest videos. I'm also available on social media, so if you want to get updates on my latest movie blog articles and the latest videos, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, so I'll post links to all of those in the YouTube description below. But as I said before, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.